Hey guys, this is Azralynn with an early access review of Guardians of Ember. Guardians of Ember is an action MMORPG. The gameplay is similar to other hack-and-slash games like Diablo III or Torchlight series, but it doesn't really offer any combat features that are new or improved. The combat can be enjoyable, but the fun can also be hindered by the server latency. You can still take damage from melee attacks even after you've moved out of range. The questing is your standard MMO style, where you run around and complete tasks, fetching, killing, and clearing dungeons. You can group up with others or play solo, but you must always be online and connected to their servers. The dungeons have normal and hard difficulties, so obtaining better loot is a good incentive to group up with others. The boss battles are fairly simplistic, and I found most of the bosses to be quite a bit easier than killing the large group of trash mobs that I pulled just prior. Outside of the dungeons, there are no difficulty settings, so unless you lag, get stuck, or pull way too much, the game is pretty easy from what I can tell. There are also public questing areas, where people can work together without being in a group to earn XP and rewards. These are a nice addition to the regular questing, and one of the good things that the game has going for it. There is some story that's told with text dialogue and cutscenes. After watching the first few cutscenes, they just weren't interesting enough, and I started skipping them like I do in practically every MMO I've ever played. Guardians of Ember has a dual class system, and you get to choose 2 of the current 5 classes with another class that's still in development. All classes have 2 different damage types that you can specialize in using your attribute points. Each class also has some sort of self-sustain, so you don't feel forced to pick up any one class in particular. I like being able to change your secondary spec free of charge, but I really wish that you could change your primary spec as well. I don't mind having to freshly level each class's skill sets, but after seeing the possible synergies of the other skill trees, I kind of regret the primary class that I picked. I really don't want to make a new character though, since the first 15 levels to unlock the dual spec in the first place takes a lot longer than I would like. Besides, it would be very tedious to do all of those exact same quests for a 4th time. When I first saw the skill system, I thought it looked really awesome. While it appears that you have lots of abilities at your disposal and that you can customize your playstyle, it isn't entirely the case. The game does allow for some flexibility with the advanced skills, but for the main skills, I find it very restricting. Say for example that you want to use one primary ability that slows the targets, but then still be able to use another primary ability to deal direct damage as well. You can't. You aren't even allowed to bind it to a different slot. All of the key bindings are customizable, except for these mouse 1 and mouse 2 controls, which cannot be changed from your primary and secondary skills. You can add additional binds to these abilities if you want to, but you can still only have one equipped at a time. It's a shame to have so many options to choose from, but then be so restricted. I would love to have access to more of my abilities at any given time, and definitely more hotkeys. Changing your stats and skills after level 25 or your attributes after level 15 can only be done using items that are randomly found in loot orbs. This bothers me. Here's where the microtransactions come in. These loot orbs can be bought with real money or earned in a limited quantity by completing daily objectives. The items you obtain from them are completely random, and I really don't like that being able to respec relies on random factors. I think that this is something that should be available with the in-game gold currency as well. Since you can't even see the skills available until you unlock them, it makes it very difficult to plan ahead, and most people will likely choose something that they regret at some point. As far as the microtransactions and loot orbs go, the items that you get from them are untradeable. Of the 25 plus orbs that I've opened, I've gotten some mounts, a pet, boosts for loot, gold, and XP, instant resurrects, backpack expanders, and some other cosmetic things. So while they don't directly give your characters any stat advantages, they certainly do make things in the game much more convenient and more enjoyable. I think my biggest concern about the presence of microtransactions is that the game in the future may become pay to win if the developers decide to take that route, like some other games have. However, right now I'm okay with the items that I have seen. Guardians of Ember has a ton of loot everywhere. Similar to many other games in the genre, the loot is a pain in the ass. Most of it is complete junk gear that just fills up your inventory. You're either forced to portal back to town and vendor, leave it on the ground, or just destroy it. There are premium pets that can auto-loot for you, and you can set the loot threshold for what you want them to collect. These pets are amazing, and it makes the game's loot system a lot less monotonous. Although you will still have to go back and vendor quite often. Don't take too long either, or your portal won't work when you try and go back through it to the dungeon you were in. I wish there were quick sell buttons for different types of gear or different rarities of gear to make it quicker to vendor all the junk loot. Gear-wise, you have a lot more freedom to pick which stats you want and mix and match as you see fit. The stats on the gear are also random, but some of the stats rolled are completely stupid. For example, getting wand mastery stats on a bow makes absolutely no sense. Other than the weird weapon stats, gear having diverse stats to accommodate a wide variety of specs is a good thing. The instance housing and storage is a neat idea, and I like that it's shared between all of your characters on the server. You can decorate it however you want. You can also hire sprites to come and work for you, and I suspect that they will help you out with different professions. The housing system could be made even better by allowing players to fully design and build their own houses from scratch. But hey, at least it's nice to see some sort of player housing. The game also has crafting, but it's locked until level 40, and the max level right now is only level 30. There are also PvP arenas, but I got fed up waiting in queue all the time since no one is really queuing for it. Duels are extremely fast-paced, and I expect that arena matches will be quick as well. I would like to see some world PvP objectives added though. The environments look decent, and the character design looks appealing enough. A lot of the enemies, dungeons, and environments are much too similar, especially before level 16 or so. After that, the enemies get more diverse, and there are some fresh new areas and completely different looking dungeons. The biggest issue that I have with the environments is that there are several times where you'll be running and get caught on the terrain. It can be extremely frustrating, especially when you're trying to kite enemies. The soundtrack is good. The majority of the sound effects are good as well, except for this one sound that was driving me nuts. When you finish killing multiple enemies in a short time, you get an XP bonus and the game makes a very annoying and completely unnecessary pinging sound. I would really like to disable that sound effect. I backed this game on Indiegogo, and so far I've played over 12 hours of the live version and about 15 more hours during the technical testing prior to release. To me, the game feels like it could have been a single player or co-op game, or maybe even a free-to-play game if they truly want to take the MMO route with microtransactions. At this point, it's impossible to comment on the late game replay value since a lot of the content is not yet released. The game is in early access, so if you're expecting a fully polished game and perfectly stable servers, there are a lot of other alternatives like Diablo III, Path of Exile, or Grim Dawn. In the game's current state, you can expect bugs, periodic lag, server latency, and some random crashes to desktop. But as far as early access and MMO launches go, I have seen much worse. Guardians of Ember has potential, and it's worth keeping an eye on, but I think it's going to take a lot more time and work to polish everything out. If you can get past the issues and are interested in supporting the game's development, then Guardians of Ember is off to a reasonable start. I hope this early access review has helped you. If you enjoyed it, please like, subscribe, and post your feedback in the comments below. Thanks everyone, and have a wonderful day.